a sled before. So it was great. Like, it was really rewarding, and they had a great time, and they came from all over. They're from all over the place.
Like these were guys that weren't able to walk. They were
So
veterans.
they were in different, yeah, they were in different stages. Like, there were some that were not ambulatory. There were some that could walk, but had like so much surgery because of internal damages from the wars, battles and such, that they were on medications and, maybe a machine during at certain points during the day. So it was a mix. It was really a mix from one gentleman who really struggled with being able to grip the two little sticks to kind of push himself along, to, like I said, guys that could walk, but there was some traumatic brain damage, that kind of thing too.
Oh yeah. How many athletes did you have on the ice?
I think it was 10. I think it was 10 altogether. That's about the max that they say you can really handle, because I mean, one of the things is when you're experienced, there's more, right? But when you're trying it out, like those sleds, it's really easy to just tip over. And then, you obviously it takes two guys to take somebody else and flip them back up. So about 10 is really the way to go.
How many able-bodied guys were on the ice, or girls?
There was a support group off the ice of 3 or 4, and then I want to say it was consistently 5 in the afternoon, because there were 2 sessions. It swelled to about 11 because there was a junior program out of there, so they all helped out as well.
Sammy, good morning. Don't come down.
Good morning, guys. How's it going?
Hey, Peter's got to have to repeat what he just did. Billy would be very interested. Peter, it's worth repeating again, okay? Would you mind telling Sammy she's married?
Yeah, Sammy. So last Thursday, and it's really Mike Benelli's thing. I was just there helping him out. We did in Stamford, Connecticut. There's this rink, Chelsea Piers, it's called. A nice, really twin rink, right? It's got everything there,
Yeah.
right? If you've been there, right?
I've been there, yeah.
Yeah, it's just insane with everything they have there. But he got some ice in that, and we had the Wounded Warriors project in there, and it was really good because it was about 10, I think it was, participants who had never been on a sled before.
Nice.
So it was kind of fun. It was fun, and they were from all. I mean, there was a guy there from Tampa, Florida. So I guess they somehow apply, and then they get selected based on whatever the criteria is. So,
and then is there a pathway for them to play para hockey after?
It depends on what is happening in their state and right in their area.
Lots of NHL teams fund their local sledge hockey team, even in like random places. So even down deep in the South. So if they live in a place near an NHL team, usually they have a sled hockey team, which is good.
Yeah, which would be good, because this was New York Rangers sponsored this one with, jerseys and, a little bit of tchotchke for the guys after, and it was good.
Nice. And really just their ability to enter a dressing room and be normal again, I think is pretty special for those guys.
Yeah, I think so too. We kind of did that up with put their names on the lockers, put their numbers.
Yeah, and even just walking into a room where you don't have, everybody else has gone through terrible things, and you don't have to explain it. I think that's the biggest thing for those guys, is you kind of get over that hump. It's like you're just one of the guys again.
Yeah, and that never came up. Like, at no point, because we had lunch together and all that, and at no point did anyone bring that up, because there was really no reason to bring it up.
Right. Everybody's gone through it. So it's like, it's not part of the conversation. Whereas if it's just one guy, I feel like everybody wants to know the inspirational story and what you've overcome. And I think they're sick and tired of likely telling that story. So it's nice to just go and play.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. That's all I want to just get them, got them fitted, suited up, got the sleds adjusted, and it was really good. was really rewarding. But if Mike gets on later, he can talk about that more because he's pretty involved in it. I think he's trying to expand it across the states too a little bit.
Nice. Well,
Yeah.
Wally, I have to tell you where I was yesterday. I was at the Carnegie Institute, which is the legacy of a Herb Carnegie, who's being inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame this week. His daughter, Bernice Carnegie, is in her, I believe, late 70s, and she's part owner of the Toronto Six. And she has really been at the forefront of inclusion within our game and including underserved hockey areas, we'll say, for lack of a better word. So the program on Tuesday brought together, it was co-sponsored by the NHL, but also the GTHL. And how do we make hockey a more inclusive space, a more caring space, more about building the citizen than about winning hockey games. And it was really fascinating. I feel like you would have really loved it. And so many people representing so many different segments of hockey, from Black Girls Hockey Club, Hockey Equality, also blind hockey, and everything and everyone in between. Asian Canadians, South Asian Canadians, women, really the underserved, I think, in hockey. And yeah, it was really special to meet so many people. Ted Nolan is one of our owners as well, and I finally got to meet him in person. And what an incredible man, with just not just a coaching prowess, but really seems to believe in hockey for the right reasons, and now has a charity with his two sons called the Three Nolans, and they go to various different First Nations communities around, all paying for it themselves, just to bring hockey and joy, as he says, to the communities. It's really special. So I was thinking of you the whole time because I thought you would have really loved it. Oh, you're on mute.
Sounds great. Kim sent out an email yesterday. She was sort of promoting her summer thing that she does privately, but she also does with, I think, 30% of all teams in the Leaside Association. And it's, to me, the fundamental things that are missing at every level. It's the teaching of tactical skills progressively and being able to apply them in a game situation. But I'm really talked to her about coming on because, I've watched all the teams practice and play games. Last night I went to a midget A game, and I don't know, Tom, I didn't realize there's a midget A team. It's all under 15, and then there's a midget 8 league, all under 18, and they play in the same league. And I watched a game last night where the younger team only had 8 players, and they managed to come close with a 6-4 loss. But that was the first team I've seen, this younger team, do an evasive tight turn, gain space, carry, and pass the puck and complete passes. It was just amazing. Coach is a former Hockey Canada employee, and he's into private investment now. But boy, I was blown away. I haven't seen them in a month, so I just happened into the rink yesterday to watch the game, and I'm looking forward to having Kim come on because I think that most people are they're into the team tactics now. They're playing 5-on-5 games, and they really haven't mastered the tactical skills to play.
Well, Kim came out to our Toronto Six game on Saturday, so I got to see her, and her youngest was there in person, which was great. And Danielle Goyette dropped the puck at our game. And so Danielle and Billy, myself and Kim watched the game. And Danielle cannot not be a coach. Like she was taking out her whiteboard, taking my notes and making like a hockey rink for me and showing me like where the players should be going and what they should be doing. And Meanwhile, there's like 1,100 people at the game, and I'm running all of the like little mini games and the game day staff. And I'm like, I'm probably not going to get this to Geraldine Heaney right away. She's our head coach. But thank you. And she's like, yeah, they just need to do this. They just need to do that. And her and Billy, who are both prolific goal scorers, were like, why can't this player find the back of the net? Why can't they do this? And anyways, you could just see Kim sitting beside them, like just wanting more information, like just keep talking, just wanting to learn. So she said that was the most special thing, was to be able to watch a game beside Goyetti and just to hear how she thinks the game. And was I think really special for all of us. And to have Danielle Goyette drop the puck was incredible. It shows a lot of faith and confidence in our league and what we're doing in the future of our league and our game. So, but more than that, it was just fun to see a friend again and hang out.
Kim told me all about it. She called me back after I replied to her email promotion, and she mentioned there was a 3-on-1 and a delay play by one of the attackers, and the play ended up with a shot that was wide of the net, and the puck broke out.
Yeah.
And with Billy there, who's the scorer, and they were talking about all the different options, and I just concluded that the 3-on-1 is one of the best things to have, because there's too many decisions to be made by the.
That's what I said as a goalie. I was like, I'd rather them have a 3-on-1 against me, because they don't know what they're doing. There's too many options. And as a goalie, I think in my mind that I made them miss. I made them be able to not have enough good decisions. And both Kim or Billy and Danielle were like, it's never about the goalie.
So I really have never had anything to talk about today. Peter, is there anything going on in your hockey world that you can share with us? Your speaker, Peter.
I'm muted. There we go. Me personally, I got involved with my old college team that I was coaching, doing the color commentary part, which was kind of fun. I just started doing that. That's pretty enjoyable. It's very different. You know, a year ago, having been the head coach of that team and just kind of watching them from sort of the eye in the sky, and honestly feeling absolutely no pressure in any way, shape, or form, just commenting on what's going on. So that was pretty cool. That's been kind of fun. But for me, hockey wise, that's been about it. Still trying to get some of the youth hockey coaches, organizations on board with some of the things we talked about, Wally, the mission statement, that type of thing. And it's funny, you kind of got to wait until after December, where things are either going really well or things are going really poorly. And that is the point where all of a sudden they'll perhaps begin to listen to what you have to say. So that's kind of what's going on with me, is in the world of hockey.
Well, I'm in the middle of that mission statement thing, and nobody, including listeners on this show, realize how valuable and important it can be. And I want to thank Tom, because it was over a month ago, he was on the ice and he let me do the exercise with all the parents while he was practicing with his team. And Tom and his son Jim came up. They saw the whiteboard and the activity and the discussions I had, leading to the completion of a mission statement, which would be an assignment down the road. It's the first time I've done it with the parents only. I've got another session scheduled with the other midget team, Pee Wee 3, U13 team, just the parents, and Tom's going to be on the ice with the other coach, half ice practice, split ice. So I'm doing this exercise with the parents. And I have to say that I think the parents totally got it. Totally got it. And I think the rest of the season, for the group of parents that have done the exercise, it's just going to be better without having even finished the mission statement. So Tom, I don't know if where you're at relative to your manager getting 2 or 3 parents to write the statement and put it on the card, but I hope that's done before Christmas. And it's more for my formal wondering whether that exercise is important and how it might help down the road. Because, Peter, you're absolutely right. Everybody's hunky dory for the first part of the season until the score clock takes over. And then perspective is lost. And
Hey, Wally, I just got to jump in because I got to drive Jim right now.
okay.
I found a really more positive attitude with the parents ever since.
Yeah.
Because, we're the first time they've ever had non-parent coaches and all this kind of stuff. And it was kind of a mystery. So I'll just be listening here. I'm just going to drive Jim down.
Okay.
Well, I can't stay too much longer too, so maybe we can just talk for another 5 or so minutes, unless Peter and Wally, you guys want to stay on. But Wally, what's going on in your world?
Not much. I was sick for about a week with a cold, and the winter's here, the snow and the ice, and some of the hockey rinks, like Tom is playing a game tonight and one that's close by. So I believe I'm going to go to that game because it's a short drive. But the other team, it's a 45-minute drive, and it's too dangerous for me. I haven't got my winter tires yet. I'm scheduled to get them in tomorrow.
Do you guys have a lot of snow on the ground right now?
Yeah, the roads are icy. There's quite a bit of snow. There's no really on the side street. It's all icy, snowed in, hard covered, packed snow. The main roads have some ice on them, but for the most part, you can see the pavement, and there's lanes of ice and lanes of pavement, just stripes running down natural. But it's just a little dangerous for me, so I'm reluctant to head out and do much watching. But last night for me, Sammy, do you know U15 girls are 4 teams are playing in a U18 league with 6 female teams? Is that concerning for you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how the system works out there. And also Tom's team, don't they play in a boys league too?
Yeah, they're playing a boys league. It seems to be very competitive. There's no, unnecessary physicality. Although one of the
like what's going on in Calgary women's hockey that there isn't a league for them to play in that's at their level, or is there? And they're just you're just choosing to play boys.
Well, that's just because they made this AA league they tried. So they get the best Pee Wee girls that play girls hockey and made 2 teams. So they're in the Division 3 boys league. But the rest of the stuff is girls playing against girls.
Yeah. I mean, I have nothing against girls playing against boys. I met lots of girls on Tuesday that play in the GTHL. And I have no issue with kids playing different levels or, playing with their friends. But, what I'm always cognizant of telling parents is ensure that your daughter is, keep checking in and make sure that she feels comfortable and she's, developing friendships, and whether that's boys or girls, doesn't matter. And in terms of level of play, Wally, I think, girls playing against older girls is never, I don't think it's an issue. That's been happening for the last 40 years. I think where it sometimes becomes an issue is in the dressing room when you have a 13-year-old with a 19-year-old, those kind of things. So coaches just have to be really cognizant when that does happen of language and mentorship rather than, friendship. I think, there needs to be sort of a cool-headed coach or a good coach that is there with them. So yeah, I mean, I don't have any issue with any of that. And in small communities across Canada, this happens all the time, right? So when I used to go play shinny, you'd get the 6-year-old on the ice with the 12-year-old with the 18-year-old, and that's, you know, that's how you develop and that's how you play your game. So you just have to have some coaches that are aware of what goes on in the dressing room and away from the rink. And yeah.
Yeah, I think everything is age specific. The teams are U15 only. They're not practicing with, they're just playing games. They're in the same league. So the U15s are together. And I believe the best reason for it is there are anywhere from 2 to 4 girls on the boys' teams that I'm sure will come back. And pretty soon that girls' league at the AA level will be all girls. They can compete at that Division III level. And I think when all the girls get together, the league is going to be very competitive because the girls on the AA team, I think, are playing a better brand of team hockey by far. And
It's a catch-22 at times, right, in women's hockey. This happened in the East Coast for a while, where because the best girls were going away to prep schools in the U.S., there then wasn't a AA or AAA strong league, and then it just kind of kept feeding itself. So then, if you're a strong player, you either played with the boys or you went down and played in the States, and so they had this whole crop of girls that weren't playing at that level, and it must be hard for parents because, you know, you want the best for your kid at that time. You don't want to be the guinea pig necessarily, you know. So I get it. Actually, I saw Natalie Rivard was at our game on Sunday, and her daughter must be about 15 now, maybe. Really good player, but Nat changed organizations. You know, she felt like her organization was good, but that another one had coaches that had the philosophy of more of your philosophy, Wally, and she just didn't want her own kid to be the guinea pig, to have to change the system. And so I get that. Like it's time is fleeting as a parent, right? And you want to do the best for your child at that time. And I can imagine how hard that must be in girls hockey when there's not that many to go around.
well, I think the numbers are there, and there's more girls going to go to girls hockey that are playing boys pee wee hockey. And they're starting to not play dominant roles on the boys' teams. And they're just sort of taking the back seat and yeah, I'm on the team kind of thing. And whereas on the female team, they take initiative. And I just see them socially, Tom on the bench and the atmosphere. Tom has a parent, great video angle. He has this thing on his iPhone. He can record the whole game, just all the shifts, and I can pick up the voice, the girls' voices, and the coaching, the interaction. It's incredible. It's far beyond what I've ever experienced on the bench with the male team. And I'm really, really impressed with the way it's going. So, Tom, what do you think? Are you still there?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm driving. Oh yeah, like like Cassie's on the bench and she's great with the players, and I'm driving Jim right now, and he's really got a good rapport with them, and and the girls are receptive. Like poor Cassie, she's getting there all the time to practice. She goes to Toronto, then back to Calgary, and last week she's in San Jose, and then she drove way out to that Seton rink and was at practice. But she does a great job when she's there. She should be there tonight. But,
well, tell Cass I said hi for me.
I will.
Tell her I got to watch the game with Goyetti and it was lots of fun.
She'd get a kick out of that.
Yeah, she would.
Sammi, how's the league going?
So yeah, really great. I mean, it's been we had a sold out first game with 1,100 people in the venue. It was really special to see so many people support it, and the level of play. I was asking Lisa Haley because she coached here 2 years ago. the level of play, and she said it's significantly better now. It really is fast. We play on the Olympic size ice, so Geraldine has sort of picked a team that can manage the bigger ice, I think. And yeah, we won the first game in overtime against Minnesota, which made it for the fans. But then also the autographs afterwards, where all the players come out, we had them all lined up, like just so many kids wanting to get these girls' autographs. And you forget that interaction and how powerful that is. The North York Storm were having a tournament at the same time, so they had 55 teams there, and it was just it was a little bananas, but it was amazing. And even for my daughter, who I think I've mentioned on this call before, hated hockey, she went with her little hockey friends to the game and sat and ate candy and then got autographs after, and was like pushing her way in to get autographs and wanted to meet the girls. And it was just really powerful to see how much that really impacts. And these little girls don't care, who necessarily is out there, and that there's still the some of the players choosing not to play here. They just those girls on the ice are their heroes, and that's really special to see.
I think as a guy, we take everything for granted. And I've watched nothing but female hockey other than the Calgary Flames. I've gone to a game or two. But watching the young girls, and I watched a Pee Wee girls team. It was playing in a boys 5 league. And the girls were so competitive, and the parents were so vocal and competitive. It was like every shot, every play, they were just commenting. But just seeing the girls, the passion, the way they competed, it was amazing. I was blown away just watching the level of competition. It's just amazing. So I think they're onto a good thing here with that, playing the boys league, and eventually when they create the girls teams, there's just a different satisfaction that's obvious when you play the females play the game. They just enjoy it, and I don't think they go through the emotional ups and downs that guys have been brought up to do. But, I'm really impressed with it more than ever. So, Peter, have you got anything at all to do with female hockey, or is all men?
Holy shit! Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Tom, you okay?
Did you hit a deer? What happened?
The cars jammed their brakes on in front of me. I thought I was going to smash into a guy.
Stay safe. Drive safe.
Good reflex, Tom.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't want to have to run, but I do have to go to my next meeting. But so great to see you guys. And
Thanks for popping in, Sammy.
we'll see you next Thursday. Wally, what do you have planned for next Thursday?
Well, I'm hoping to get Kim on. I'm going to send the email out of her promotional package, because to me, that's what's missing.
Mhm.
Everything she's doing with the 31 teams, she's educating coaches how to teach the tactical skill progressions that will translate into the game. And it's sort of like, everybody's got a breakout. Nobody does an evasive tight turn to create time and space for the breakout. So the evasive tight turn is an amazing, it's a simple tactic to teach that isn't.
Well, and that's what Boyetti kept telling me about. Your players need to get away from the board so they can create their own time and space.
Yeah, they do. It comes off like at her level with the Leafs. They use, I don't know, Peter, did you use the term jam turn and stop turns out there?
Well, I think a term we use probably similar to that as a punch stop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And back in my day, it was just a power turn where you just came out of the turn with a crossover, cross under, and accelerated. But now they do quick stops and change direction faster on a dime, and they get going the other way. So there's some tactical nuances that are new to me. And I just think the first thing to master is an evasive tight turn, being able to fake one way and go the other, buy your own space and time. And skate with the puck and make sure you're looking up ice and passing to people who are supporting you. And it's not there yet. Anyway, at the U13 level, it was the first time I watched it last night happen was the U15 girls playing the U18 team. They had two defensemen that executed consistent tight turns and gained space and were able to move the puck up the ice and complete passes. I haven't seen that all year. I've seen skating up the ice, head manning the puck, and a more straight line and long hope passes, but they're still making pass attempts. But there's still a little ways to go in the actual connection of tactical skating with playing the game and making decisions.
Yeah, I think when I watch, because like I said, I'm doing that color commentary now for the men, and I've been going to all the women's games too. And it's going to be interesting for me to see down the road how much of these tactics, these, for lack of a better word, newer tactics, these players come in with, because there's still, I think, when you get to the college level, I mean, again, it's Division III level, so players themselves are not quite as accomplished as a Division I player, which is why they're a Division III player. But them putting these things into practice with more looking laterally with pucks instead of just always looking down the ice, and like you're saying, that's the play. So I'm curious to see that, just because there's still too many things at that level where in college I feel like you're correcting or teaching that should be inherent when they get there, if it's coming at the important squirt and early peewee development stages.
Well, that's what happens is Bantam coaches say, well, they should have learned this in Pee Wee. And midget coaches say, well, they should have learned this in Pee Wee or Bantam. And nobody's learned it. So Kim's session to me is about exactly teaching those things at a much younger age. So she's talking about her U11, and it is a top U11 team, maybe in the province this year, that happens to be in her association. And with her leadership, she looks after 31 teams. She works with them hands-on with the coaches. They're making great progress in terms of these tactical skills translating into the game. And the biggest thing she said yesterday was nobody's ever asked, well, why do you do a tight turn? What's the reason? You mean you do it, but the why of you doing it is the most important thing to appreciate. And she said that's the questioning that has to go on before the teaching, so you get the buy-in. Tom, are you still there?
Yeah.
Have you got any players in your team that you think are hanging on to the puck and turning one way and going the other and looking up ice yet?
I think 1D does that. Comey, number 16.
Yeah.
But who else does?
I think Avery does to some extent.
Yeah,
So- We've got a. I think she might be an 11-year-old. I think she might be a first year. She's a very small defenseman, number 2, who seems to be picking it up really quickly. Like when it was shown in practice about making a fake and like taking a few strides before making any play, and she's really sort of put that into her game. We've got a forward, a young forward, our number 12, who does tight turns and cutbacks, but she's still kind of she's not at that maturity where she's doing that, giving the puck, and then going to open space to get it back. She's she's just kind of holding it once she gets into the offensive zone.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's coming.
Well, I've watched the U15s, and the girls that are on the U15 team never made the Bantam AA team, but 4 of the girls that played last night are affiliated. So maybe that's the right age to master that skill. Is the next stage up from your level, the tactical bridging of the gap to carry it into the game situation. It sounds like Kim has had success with the U11 team. She mentioned the head coach is a possession coach, and they pass the puck, possess the puck all the time, and they're blowing teams away with the way they play. So it's just a case of having a program where it's been initiated, followed through with, and it's moving forward. So I'm really looking forward to having her back on. So
Yeah, I think with our team too, like I would say we are kind of blowing teams out of the water, but we're in this weird moment of our season where we've got a couple of players that went away for vacation, and we've only got 15 skaters in the first place, and we're opening games in the first period. We're out shooting teams by 10, 15 shots, and as the game goes on, it's fading as we're losing our energy to backtrack and to recover pucks. But I think it is. I think that I don't think it's the age. I think it's coming. Like our team, I think, is doing the same thing as far as playing a possession game and holding on to pucks and moving it around and forcing them to adjust to us. So I think it's coming.
well, last night's game, the midget 15 team had 8 players, 8 skaters,
Thanks.
and they played a team with 12 skaters, U18. They gave up 3 goals in the first 10 minutes, and they ended up being a 6-4 game that they lost in. And I'm not sure about the numbers, but they managed the bench to, every time there was a whistle, one defenseman changed or 1 or 2 forwards. And they got into the game and they literally played the game. I've seen everybody work the game, but not just do instinctive things that they happen to do. And maybe that's the only time I'll see it. I'm going to watch them again this Sunday when they might have a full roster. And they might not get into the thinking of the game because they just got to play so much. Who knows? Peter, have you ever witnessed that players are working the game, they're not playing the game? They're just doing robotic things and turning the puck over?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're talking about hockey IQ, right? I mean, there's 2 things. There's the player's ability to do that, and then I think you always have to ask the question, so why are you doing that? Because I've also heard situations where a player will do something that they feel is creative or create a play, but the coach doesn't give them the latitude, right? Like back in the day, it's gain the blue line and dump the puck, right? Then go forecheck the puck, as opposed to, well, where's the time and space? If the space is in front of you, then why give up the puck? Right? Don't give it up unless you have to. But yes, sometimes players are just robotic because there's a system and they're afraid that when they get back to the bench, honestly, they're just going to get yelled at by the coach for not doing what they're told.
Yeah, they don't think for themselves. And that's part of the problem is we structure. So,
Well, sometime you're coaching against a team and they have a 2-on-1, and the player dumps a puck in, and you look and say, "What?" But I think that's what Peter was just talking about.
Yeah, just the inability to teach players that you get to think, right? We give you all these tools, right? Teach you all these turns, talk to you about getting off the wall, off the puck, and we give you all these tools, and then we don't let you create. I mean, you have to have some form of a system, I feel like, especially at the higher level, so everybody has an idea of what we're going to do and where we're going to be. But past that, just create. I mean, with me when I coached college, I mean, we had a defensive zone, we had a neutral zone. Well, once we got in over the blue line, create. We work on concepts, right? All the time. We work on game situations and small area games that we would play, and we talk about all that. But once you get over the blue line, just go be a hockey player and create, because I mean that's where the fun is, right? That's where the fun is, right? We talk about where the open spots might be, but just go play and create. And I never coached a team where we were good when the players weren't enjoying themselves.
No, you're right. I think the girls, Tom, I don't know, but they enjoy the game. I mean, the video of your games and listening to the bench and hearing them giggle and laugh and talk to each other, it's absolutely amazing that they're enjoying the game that much. It's almost like, well, they shouldn't be enjoying the game. You know what I mean? And they've taken it to another level where I think when all's said and done, whether they won or lost, it really isn't as significant as we think it is, because they truly immerse themselves in the competitive nature of the game. And you can't teach that. They just get competitive and they naturally get hungry. And I find it's really fun to watch. Tom, I got a question for you, Peter. You know, I got asked by Kerry Brackle, what's a good penalty? What's a bad penalty? And how do you address or deal with a bad penalty? So
I think it depends upon the nature of the penalty and when it occurs, right? Like for me, if a bad penalty certainly would be a misconduct penalty, mouthing off to the officials. And for me, even at the college level, when that player mouthed off to an official, they were done for the game.
Yep.
Regardless if it was 2 minutes into the game or 2 minutes left in the game, they were done for the game. At the younger levels, you teach, right? If you tripped, right? If you hooked, why did that happen, right? Like, was it did that player just, were they better than you and they beat you to a spot? So you did that to take away a scoring opportunity. I mean, there's a reason a penalty happens, right? If it's from laziness of a player, you got to address that so they understand it, right? And if it's a positional issue, same thing, you address that. So, and there's different times in the game when there's a bad penalty, right? Like you're up by 1 in your third period, don't be taking any penalties of a lazy nature, because it's hard. I mean, the game's fast, and there also the other piece of that, Wally, is too, and we all have seen it, and there are penalties that are called that you feel are really questionable penalties. Did they have to get called at that moment? Right? It's kind of like the NFL, right? You watch an NFL game, they could throw a flag for holding every single play.
Yeah.
But it's them choosing when to do that as well. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
well, I'll give you an example, and Tom, you can respond to it. I actually saw this happen in a game. You know, the team was struggling, AAA midget hockey, and one of the better players who takes questionable penalties was frustrated. And on the way to the bench, he two-handed, and it wasn't like an over-the-shoulder two-hander, but it was enough to get a penalty as he was going to the box. And I saw the coach talking to him. I don't know what happened or what transpired, but how would you address that? Because it just didn't occur that game at that moment. That kind of subtle behaviors away from the puck, example of frustration costing the team. And that to me is the art of coaching, is being able to address those behaviors and recognizing what is a bad penalty and unacceptable, and what is your approach to consistently addressing it? So that case, Peter, what would you do?
Well, right. I would hope that, and I agree with you, that if that's happened, it's not the first time that that's happened. So obviously there's somewhere in there's that discussion, because I've had that situation when I coach midgets. There's a discussion in there somewhere, especially with that being a better player whose job it is, in a sense, right, to set the tone, lead the way. Couple of things. One thing is, you're setting a terrible example for your teammates, because now if in some way there isn't something punitive, I'm sending the message that that's okay to do, which can't let that happen, right? And then I think the fact that you're doing this, you got to drill down and find out what's behind all this, right? If it's frustration and you want to continue to play at the next level, you're going to be really easy to play against, because it's a small world, right? When you go from team to team, they're going to figure out that if you want to get under number so-and-so's skin, you just have to do X, Y, Z. He'll do something dumb, and then he'll be in the box. So having all those kind of conversations with him, so that the player can learn that there's consequences, and there has to be some level of consequence that you distribute as a coach, but also that the player understands more so the consequences from their actions, how they affect his teammates, their teammates, everyone around them, his or her teammates. What happens when you do this, right? Every action, there's a reaction, right?
Yeah. Well, in sports psychology, they call it ideal performance state. And it doesn't matter whether you're the best player and you have a little more responsibility. You're not given leeway of losing emotional control. And that's what's missing, is the best player or a couple players are taking penalties consistently, and they aren't being addressed consistently or dealt with consistently. The effect on the rest of the team is enormous. A team that should be a national champion competitor will be middle of the road, and yes, they'll make the playoffs in their local league. So that's the consequence of that kind of behavior. Now, back in the 70s, Dave King had a good penalty had to be an action penalty. A bad penalty was a reaction penalty. So if you got a penalty for finishing a check too hard, not labeling a guy or injuring a guy, but it's back in that day, it was acceptable, maybe addressable, showing respect, playing the puck a little more, but nothing to deal with. But a reaction penalty where you two-hand a guy that's just hit you, and the reaction penalty gets called. So that's sort of a line with, that's a reaction penalty out of frustration for whatever reason. And is it too much for coaches to pick up on that in the course of the game?
Well, I got a story for you, Wally.
Yeah.
Because when I was helping and coach at University of Calgary with Willie, Lethbridge had a really good team. But their big star, who was leading the league in scoring, or one of the top two guys, it was almost like pressing a button. We'd send this 1D to say something to him, and automatically we'd get a power play.
Yeah.
And, and they'd always blow leads in the third period and, play really well, and they probably finished fourth or something like that. And then the next year, Babcock took over, and he got this guy under control. And they didn't do that kind of stuff anymore, and they beat us in the Western Finals and won the Nationals. Because they couldn't win with this guy, you know, we just knew if we need a puck, just irritate him. So.
Now you're mentoring now, Peter. And I'm not saying you are, but you are. You see the game from the outside. We can talk about these nuances. What do you say to a coach? Because they're going to be cycling coaches. They're going to be in and out of jobs. They're not going to have sustained success because they don't have consistency in the way they deal with those problems. Now, I have another cardinal. I call it cardinals. A reaction penalty is a cardinal. You can interpret that. And I have a sequence in mind that is communicated before the season. It will be addressed. And the why of being addressed is very important. Why you're even talking to me about it. And they appreciate the importance of controlling your behavior to take decent penalties. Ones that don't cross the line. And second time it's a shift, third time it's a period. And I think that gives you sort of black and white. There's no gray area here. So I know Alan Andrews and put some pretty good U8 teams, whole ice, and U11 now. That's a headman rule. And it's the same rule. If you don't headman the puck to somebody open ahead of you, they're being talked to the first time, that's the second for a shift, and then sitting for the period for the third. So the headman rule to me is one that nobody can carry the puck as fast as the pass can be made. But I don't know, what age would you implement that? Or would you?
I'd like that implemented in the old man's hockey I play.
Yeah. What about your teams, Peter, over the years? Has that been a problem that people are open and they're not headmanning the puck? Is it just dealt with momentarily at this time and that time, not recognized as a cardinal of growing and learning to play the game?
I mean, honestly, going all the way back to the youth hockey days, I always use the approach with all my players, but certainly
We've lost you, Peter.
because they don't have the confidence in their maybe in their teammates, but trying to get them to understand it, especially at a young age, right? Because it's all about development. The final score really doesn't matter, regardless what anybody thinks. In my mind, if someone's open, move the puck to them and make them better. And conversely, if a player comes to the bench, I see the frustration of a player who is in a position to be available for a pass and the pass isn't made. Have that conversation with that player. Listen, what you're doing is correct. You're not wrong. My job to talk to whomever, Johnny or Janie, to move that puck when someone is available, and that is the correct play. So from squirts on up, that's something that we always worked on, and all the way up through college. And obviously, thankfully, once we get to the college level, there's quite a bit less of that. In college, it seems to be, I could shoot the puck through a triangle maybe, or I see net, but I really want to look for my buddy on the back door because that's a prettier play. Like the play selection is more of an issue than if in fact the person is open and we move the puck. Because at that college level, we've gotten pretty good at that. Someone's available, move them the puck. At the youth level, yeah, you got to teach it, but I think you have to be cognizant of keeping the player who is in the correct position on board. That, you don't get frustrated. You're not wrong, and then we try to figure out a way to work together on it.
At what age do you feel you should address it? And at what level?
Honestly, I think once you get to a level where the kids can make a pass, right? And I think that varies a little bit, right? It's probably that squirt at squirt A level. Kids are good enough to make passes. Whereas at the B level, I always approach it differently. Whereas you need to be a little closer to your player so that we can be successful. But I think at the squirt level is the time to start teaching that because it's easier to create habits.
What age is squirt? You guys got different words for things.
What's that?
What age is squirt?
Squirt starts at age 8.
Yeah, because we got different terms.
Yeah, you're different. Yeah, so it's at age 8, right? Because I think it's you want to start as soon as possible. Obviously, they have to have the mechanics being able to make passes, but as soon as they can do that, because I think it's easier to create good habits and harder to break bad habits when they're young, at least.
Yeah, well, if they learn right away that that's how you play the game, it's pretty different.
Right. If that's what you do, right? I mean, that's, growing up, right? You learn in your family that after dinner, you take your plate, you clean it off, and you put it in the sink, right? As soon as you learn that, then that becomes your culture. That's what you do. So it becomes second nature. So that's really all it is creating habits that become second nature. And as soon as they're able to actually do that, that's when I think you teach it.
Well, I've had a lot of success. That kind of stuff probably a lot to do with the Finnish people. And like with this team I got now, we started off, you have to make at least one pass in each zone. We'll play some, maybe everybody's even playing. And that forces people to get open. It forces you to get your head up. And last practice, we gave them 3 seconds. And it went really well. You can handle a puck for 3 seconds. And they start looking around, and like, I know right now we're the only team in our league that passes. So I know that if we back pressure the puck carrier, they're not going to pass the puck, and we just have defensive 2-on-1s all the time, right?
Yeah, and I think that's great. I mean, in college, I had a game called the Gretzky game, right, where right each team has a Gretzky, and he is below the goal line, and it's a 2-on-2 above that, and the Gretzky's make it a 3-on-2 once they have possession, and Gretzky has 1,001 and 1,002, and they have to move the puck. So that forces you to get available and move to places where Gretzky can give you the puck. I think it's not going to, unfortunately, I think it's going to be not too long where you have to change the name of the game because it starts to tell my age, right? I talk about Bobby Orr and defensemen just stare at me because they have no idea who that was.
Well, that's why Pierre Pagé liked having me around in Salzburg, because he'd talk about players that his players had no idea who he was talking about. But I'm in the same era as him.
Yeah. So, but yeah, those are fun things that you can do, and they get into it because if it goes more than 1,001, goes more past 1,002, they have to turn the puck over to the other Gretzky.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we do stuff to that.
What's that?
We do similar things.
Yeah.
Just
yeah.
Because a lot of times, like I know I'm kind of I look around when I'm playing, a lot of times nobody's getting open, or everybody's way on the other side of the ice, so you got to go over 3 sticks to get it to them. So the passer also needs the rest of the guys to do stuff.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's funny. I see that my 5-year-old grandson is playing the introduction to soccer.
Yeah.
So kids are all over the place with that. Matter of fact, they just finished up last week was their last game, and in the middle of the game, 4 kids were standing in the middle of the field just having a discussion, like staring at each other's shoes and just oblivious to the fact there was a game going on. But my grandson's pretty quick. His mom played soccer, so she's always on him to pass the ball. And it's like, it's so fun watching kids because in many ways, children are smarter than we give them credit for. Because mom will say, you got to pass the ball. And he'll say, Mom, but there's no one to pass to. Like to your point, there's no one to pass to. And here's a 5-year-old figuring that out. And the mom doesn't know what to say because he's absolutely right. Like if he's ahead and there's nobody getting with him, who's he supposed to pass the ball to?
Yeah, I remember my
so everybody's got to do their part.
They're
You're
at
right.
that age.
Yeah.
Playing, and there Saturday morning be a lot of balloons, people flying balloons. You know.
Yes. Yeah. We get that too.
Yeah. Still watching the balloons and the games going all around.
Yeah. Yeah. There was one kid there that was fascinated by an oak leaf branch that had blown on the field. So he was walking around with that thing in his hand, staring at that. So it's kind of fun. Puts it in perspective a little bit.
Yeah.
Tom, do you have players on your team that should pass the puck and don't and carry it more?
No, I don't think there's any that if players are obviously open, they don't pass them. You know, I've had players. There's some that still don't get their eyes up.
Yeah.
So they don't even know players are with them. You know, like they get their eyes focused on the D that they're going to try to go around, and there can be somebody wide open. They have no idea. But it's not that they won't pass it. They just don't know that's an option.
There's some people who are so determined to make a difference, and they do make a difference, and they get results by lugging it versus head manning it sometimes. And I've often wondered about at what point do you address that or not address it, because more often than not, it results in a positive play, a goal, or a great scoring chance.
Well, I say make a player gain a zone.
Yeah.
So, and I also say if someone's in better position than you got to give them the puck. But sometimes the puck carrier is in the best position.
Yeah. Good point. Good point. So, Tom, your game's at 8:15 tonight at West Hillhurst?
It's 8 or 8:15. I'm not sure.
Good. Right.
So wear a thick coat because that rink is freezing.
Yeah.
Peter, like it was minus 20 here last night.
You can keep
Celsius,
that.
so a little bit, probably 4 or 5 below Fahrenheit.
Yeah, I mean, here we've got our last day of, we call it Indian summer. It's going to be 70 degrees today. And then a storm comes through, and then we're in the 50s, and then I think we're in the high 40s Fahrenheit, right? For
The last year at this time, we were like that. Winter didn't start till like end of November, but the last 2 weeks we got hit by a storm and we got, being really cold.
Yeah, it was cold before I rode up to Canada that day. I was on the bike for 7 hours, and it's pretty cold by the time I got up to the border. It was 29 the next morning there, but then got into the 60s during the day, and that's pretty much what it has been. High 30s, and then climbing up near 60s. So
yeah. In fact, they got the outdoor rinks in now. I drove by a couple yesterday, and they got the ice in.
Peter, how many bikers were there?
In our group, there were 4. So they're from different parts. One actually is a neighbor that lives maybe 5-10 minutes away. The other is a friend of mine that I used to road race motorcycles. So he's out on Cape Cod now. So I got together with him. He drove up to Laconia, New Hampshire, where he had a friend, and then they drove across to Newport, which is like 20 minutes outside the Quebec border there up by Stansted College. I don't know if you guys know where that is or not. Yeah. And we met there. We came up and they went up, they came across. So it was good. It was fun. It was memories for me because my son went to Stansted for a couple of years, his junior and senior year for prep school. So it was nice I was able to catch up with an old coach up there. So.
Do you know Kevin Sullivan?
At Stansted?
No, I thought he lived around Cape Cod somewhere.
I don't know. I mean, there was a.
He's
I don't
done
think
a
it's
lot
the
of
same.
U.S. hockey.
Yeah, I know the name. There was actually a Sullivan that played for me, but I know it's not the. I
Well,
know
he
it's not
used
the
to
same
coach
guy.
Thayer Academy.
Yeah. Well, Monty was at Thayer for a while, right?
Coached him there.
Okay. Yeah, I wonder what years. I wonder if that's somebody because the name's familiar. I wonder how old is he?
He's probably in the high 70s.
Okay.
Tom, did Mark Jankowski go to Stansted?
I'm not sure.
He did in Calgary, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he was there. Did you know any of the coaches, Wally, at Stansted?
No, I didn't know the coaches, but I knew lots of players that went there
Yeah, yeah.
on the female side and the male side. I think Sarah Vaillancourt, she was a former national team player. She went there. And
Yeah,
Mark,
they had especially on the girl side there, they had some players with legitimate pedigrees for sure.
yeah.
I know I contacted some players there over the years recruiting, but I never got any.
Yeah, it's hard. Like even with the guys, right? The boys would every one of them almost to a man. The idea is go play junior hockey when you're done here. You're 18, you graduate, go play junior. Some were good enough where they could just step in and play, like at the Division III level. But if they were a Division I kid, they were obviously going to go through a process of junior hockey and that before they got to where they needed to go.
That's where the Div 1 player teams want them to go, right?
Yeah,
play junior
for sure.
first.
Well, it helps with the recruiting too, right? Because you only get so many scholarships, and if you get a kid who's ready to go at 18, you may not actually have the money to give that kid that year because it's just not in your budget until somebody graduates. You don't get that money back, or they leave in some fashion.
Yeah, well, my assistant coach's son went to Colgate, but they had him play 2 more years of junior before he went to Colgate.
When did he go to Colgate?
2 years ago, because his second year in Switzerland. So
Okay.
his name is Evan Schumi.
Because he might have just missed. A friend of mine played there, and he was an assistant coach there for about 6 years. A guy, Mike Harder.
I don't know.
Yeah, Mike. Yeah.
But yeah, he played at Colgate for 4 years. He had a full ride.
Yeah.
But now it's hard in Europe because all these guys that didn't go back to Russia, they're going in the leagues and they've taken a lot of spots that guys had before. So he just got into the Swiss. I think he was up and down with the first, second team, but now there's a lot more players. So he's in the third league this year.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's hard. Like you saw it years back, right, in the NHL when they adjusted their roster sizes, right? All that trick. All of a sudden, there's guys in the American League that a year before would have been on an NHL team, and there's guys in the East Coast League that would have been on the American League team.
Yeah. But yeah, it all filters whenever there's changes.
Yeah, yeah, no question. That's funny. It's a small world. Some
You know
Stansted
Gene Riley
and connections there.
Do you know Gene Riley?
Yeah.
I was talking to him on the phone last week. He's trying to get back to Russia. I don't know
Okay.
if he's there or not. He's doing the development for some team in Russia, I think, in Mongolia or something like that.
Yeah, tough time to be from a country other than Russia, I feel like, and trying to get to Russia. I don't know if that's a great climate right now.
Yeah, well, he was there. He's been there for 2 years, and he loves it there. Like, he loves the hockey. You know, loves what he's doing with the hockey.
And is this Gene Riley? Is he American or Canadian?
He's from Boston.
Yeah, so that's got to be the same guy that I know. But
Maine, all that stuff.
yeah, he used to coach a junior program.
Yeah.
Be involved with that years ago, not far from me up in Massachusetts.
Well, I coached with him in Salzburg,
Okay.
and he was there quite a while. And then he's been pro scout for different teams and assistant coach at so many universities, Northeastern and Colorado College and Maine and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, how often do you talk to him?
Oh, a couple of times a year.
Or if you do, just tell him I said hello. I think he might remember me
Yeah, I will.
because we had a mutual friend who I think he worked with him too. Probably one of the most patriotic names I've ever heard in my life. So he coaches down in Carolina now, but the coach's his name is Lincoln Flagg.
Yeah.
So you don't get much more American than that.
Yeah.
But Gene was on the I can't remember if they back then if they were because they were a couple things. They were the Falcons, they were the Whalers, they were the Coyotes, they were the Springfield Picks.
Yeah, he was in the American League for a couple of years, and his big job there was to teach Jason Spezza how to play.
Okay.
Because he just
Well, that
played.
worked out okay.
Yeah, because Toronto wouldn't bring him up because he didn't do anything without the puck, and his job was to teach him how to play kind of the whole game. And I think he's
I just pulled Gene up on elite prospects, and yeah, that's the same guy that I knew. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dual citizenship he has in USA and Ireland.
Yeah, that's handy if you want to work in Europe.
Yeah. Yeah, it was Springfield Picks is when he was involved with them, and then the Whalers, and then the Coyotes. So he was on board. He was there for a while. He was there for 10 years, so he was there for all the transitions of the new names of the teams. Yeah, small world. Yeah, because I remember, I think the last I talked with him, he was at coaching at Northeastern, so that's probably been 10, 12 years.
Yeah, it's quite a while ago that he was there. Yeah, he's a real intense guy as far as coaching goes. Very.
Yep.
I send him a lot of stuff because I collect a lot of stuff. Just Calgary's such a great place to see different. You get the NHL, now they got the American League, and all the national teams practice here and everything. We got all the junior teams, so I take little video clips of a lot of stuff, and he's interested in seeing a lot of it.
Yeah, no, I mean that's one of the fun things about this, right? Is you can always learn, right? I mean that's life in general. Life in general would be very boring if we knew everything. That's why I don't understand some of these youth coaches that know everything. Boring.
Yeah, that I have this Facebook hockey site, and one guy, I put some stuff from Kazakhstan on there, and it's a goalie stuff, right?
Yeah.
And he just dissed all over him. And I said, you know, you can disagree without being disagreeable. You know, just don't just say this is garbage and stuff like that. But you know, hard to people got their own way they think, and sometimes they don't look at what other people. They look at what other people don't do what they would do instead of look at what they do and say, well, maybe that's not that bad of an idea.
Sure. And the other part with that too, I'm sure that that individual probably has done very little, accomplished very little in the game, because people who are accomplished are professional and they're respectful, and they would never say something like that.
Yeah, but this guy has done quite a bit in the game. But yeah, I was surprised he made that comment. So
yeah, that's a shame, because typically those guys, right? Because everybody that's ever coached knows that at some point there's someone in the stands saying to the person next to them that that person's an idiot for what they're doing, right? So that you would hope there's that unspoken rule of just be supportive, because we've all been there where people have disagreed in different ways. So as a group, we should be supportive of each other.
especially the way the game changes, eh? Eddie Shore would put a rope around the goalie's neck to keep him from leaving his feet. So
yeah,
there'd be a lot of dead goalies right now.
there sure would be. They would start out that way. They would pass out the first minute of the game.
Yeah. That's yeah, there's different things, like even you know, that kind of the 1-3 penalty kill that most teams use now, with the one up and the go behind them. I know when I was at SAIT, I was helping with a men's team, and the coaches had never seen that. And I really saw the Canada's under-18 team coach, I think he's Phoenix's coach now, doing it. I thought, you know, that, you know, it takes care of the bumper there. You know, like with a diamond, the bumper is wide open a lot of the times. And it took until they went in this big long losing streak before they said, well, show us that. And then we did it, and then we weren't getting scored on the penalty kill anymore. But yeah, you got to change along with the game.
Yeah, isn't that part of the fun of it, right? Because I think it's great that the game evolves, because that makes you a better coach, right? It makes you a better tactician. It makes you a better analyst. All those things, because it's changed, so you need to adjust to it.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting watching the Stanley Cup Finals last year. Colorado was killing with a diamond, and who the hell were they against? Who was the other team in the final last year?
Well, they played Tampa in the final.
Yeah, Tampa. Tampa was taking faceoffs in their end with a D behind the centerman.
Yeah.
You know, and those are things, you know, nobody else was doing. You know, Colorado did a pretty good job. You know, your weak side forward's got to cover that guy, that bumper, but a lot of times you're on the wrong side of him then. But you know, they won, so it'd be interesting to see the philosophy of why the D's behind the center. So I see some NHL teams doing it now, and you know, most still don't do that.
Yeah, I don't know if they play the percentages, and maybe they've got a center in there who they're confident is going to win that draw.
Yeah, they just did it regularly. You know, it just looks strange because they were the only team I saw do it, but I've seen it creep into a lot of teams now.
Yeah, well, somebody watch, right? They said, they won 2 Stanley Cups. Maybe we should watch what they're doing.
Yeah. But yeah, it's yeah, it changes all the time. And how do you get to how do you get these concepts across that players actually understand them? Like this the Pee Wee girls I'm coaching, I had my only that I didn't like the practice last week because I tried 2 flow drills and they just couldn't catch on. So it was kind of a waste of 20 minutes. And then I was testing how far they could go, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And they were things that required a few different changes instead of just doing, one play, one pass, kind of a thing like that. And so it kind of gives me limits where they can go.
Yeah. So is that something where in a few weeks, month, you go back to that drill and use it as sort of a gauge?
Yeah. Well, I think both of them, the second time they would probably do it a lot better because they're not even that complicated. But I think a lot of it is just they're not used to doing multitask kind of things.
Yeah, which is great that you're doing that, right? Because that's the game, right? Because plan A is might not work at this instant. We better have a plan B. Well, that's no good either. Where's our plan C? Right? You gotta be able to think. That's the hardest part with all the skills in that are great that everybody is taught. I think players are way more skilled than they ever were. But the application of like we were talking earlier about moving that puck, right? And sometimes, right, I've got all this skill. I don't want to move the puck. I want to hold on to the puck. I want to dangle. I want to do whatever it is I want to do because I have all this skill, as opposed to using your skill to be a better passer so you can place pucks in areas where your teammate can get them, that kind of thing. So in some ways, I see like hockey IQ might suffer a little bit because of that measure of skill if the players aren't taught how and when to use that skill.
Yeah. Yeah, it is hard if someone's way better than everybody and they know if they pass to Johnny, you're not going to get the puck back. He's going to just shoot it away.
Yeah.
And, that's why it's kind of pretty important to play in the right level so that you're not way ahead or way behind.
Right. Yeah, we do some of that. My son has a hockey skill development company. It's really fun to watch him. First off, to watch him do something that seems like he's good at and successful at. But he works a lot with, like while I was talking about the girls, they've got a really good niche where they work with a lot of prep school girls, a lot of college NCAA 1 and 3 girls, and then guys at every level, and from like youth all the way through to the pro level, everything in between. But just seeing that skill piece, and that's always the discussion I have with him is, are you, as you're teaching them these skills, are you sharing with them the application of those skills in a game situation?
Yeah. And I think that's why that my Finnish friend who is so good at this is you have a game where you have to use that skill, and it's, part of the game. Like I talked about 2 or 3 seconds with a puck, or you have to make an escape move when you get the puck. I use that game quite a bit before you can pass or shoot, and or you have to do it, we were talking about the tight turns before.
Yeah.
And one of the more effective things I've done is you can only pass on your forehand. Then they have to get to face the play. And then you move it to you have to face the play, and you can use forehand or backhand.
Yeah.
But because I think the bane in a lot of hockey are blind backhand passes because it's a lot easier just to throw it to your backhand, eh?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, that's honestly one of my pet peeves is make as many plays as you possibly can off of your forehand. So if you come to me and then you say, well, I made that backhand pass, because I couldn't make a forehand pass. Why couldn't you make the forehand pass? Did you not just open your hips up and move to us and put your body in a position where you could have made that forehand pass? Real gratification for me was we actually we won on our way to the finals. We won a quarterfinal game against a team we weren't supposed to beat, and it was a freshman, two freshmen. Kid came down the right wing, and he's on his lefty, so he's on his backhand. And I know that the first month or so of the season, he was that kid just dishing backhands around. But he took the puck, he came low, curled back up around the circle, and hit our guy coming late for a one-timer. Perfect, but a forehand pass. And the first thing he said to me when he came to the bench was, "Coach, did you see that pass?" I'm like, "Yeah, you're darn right I did."
Yeah.
So yeah, but I agree. Like there's times where you have to have that skill, but too many times backhand passes are made just more or less as a bailout.
A lot of times, if you look and you see someone maybe over your left shoulder, but you don't see the back checker right behind you, right?
Yeah, that's
You make that
exactly the
backhand
point.
pass,
Yep.
and the back checker just takes it.
Yeah, and now we got an odd man rush because everybody's going to the net.
Yeah.
You turn that over, so it's an odd man rush the other way.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why that facing the play, like you see Crosby, he faces the play all the time. You know, he uses forehand and backhand, but
Yeah.
then I mean, like I tell the players, you instead of having a 90-degree vision, you turn your head. Now you're 270 degrees. You can see everything, and you basically should be able to make 3 times better plays.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree with that.
Why not?
That's awesome.
A lot of it is recognizing, like even like the middle drive and stuff like that. I mean, if you're racing the other team down the ice, then you go full speed, right? But if they're playing some kind of a contained defense and there's 4 of them in front of you, now you got to set up 2-on-1s on the widest guy or whatever, and create confusion on the defenders because you're not going to beat them to the net. They're in front of you all already. So I see people just teaching the middle drive all the time, but it's not going to work in those situations. Just skating a straight line, right?
Right.
Now you have to change a pace and hit late players and all those kind of things.
Well, it's awareness too, right? And the thing, another one of my little pet peeves is always, so players back checking really well, and he's got the guy, and the other player is coming with him, and instead of turning and facing to see what's coming at you,
yeah,
they chase right along with him, and who's
yeah, you froze there, I think. Can't hear you now.
It's fun.
Yeah, and that happens in the NHL all the time.
Yeah,
especially when players are below the goal line. Like everybody is looking at the puck, and his name skips my mind. Calgary traded for him from St. Louis, and Bouwmeester. He was the only guy I consistently saw in the situation you're just talking about. He would turn and scan the ice to see where his man was, instead of stare at the puck carrier and then kind of react to some pass. But he just had every single time he said, okay, they've got that guy, who have I got? And I think that's what made him such a great defensive player.
Yeah, that, or like you're talking about when that puck is below the net, instead of having your toes facing that player, depending upon the situation, either heels to the net so you could see from him all the way up the wall who's coming, right?
Well, the basketball calls it a man-u-ball triangle. Same, you got to know where the puck is, you got to know where your man is, and you just can't stare at the puck.
Yeah. But like you say, it's done at the NHL level, so we'll cut the Pee Wee B kid some slack for now.
Yeah, well, it's that puck is the magnet for sure.
Yeah.
Peter,
What do you
you,
think, Wally?
you
I'm
mentioned
sorry, what?
you mentioned earlier, and just trying to think about it, going down the boards, and we used to call it delays, where regardless if it's triple drive and the fourth guy coming, but the driving winger can turn to the wall, or he can stop, delay, let the people go by and open up lateral lanes. So Dave King had 3 delays. He called a high delay, a mid delay, and a low delay. And that was sort of, you have direct attacks, you have crossing attacks, and you have the drive delay attack, turning to the wall. And you're talking about forehand side. So if you're an on winger, you're turning back up the wall, you're on your backhand side. Now, were you talking about being on the off wing and turning so you can come out with a forehand, or does it make sense right now?
Well, that
I
play,
think
I mean, that play I was talking about, that player was on his off wing. He was on his backhand, and he turned and came around the circle to put the puck on his forehand. Came from low to high
Yeah,
to find that player in that high sweet spot area.
yeah, okay. But are delays the phrase used now?
Yeah, I hear that still.
Yeah,
I think on
sure.
the forehand side, sometimes it's just good to skate backwards with it to make some separation between you and the defenseman.
Yeah,
And then you're facing the play,
yeah,
Right.
And
You
if you
can't.
get a shaky guy, right turn, you might shake the defender and get a step on him.
Right. I mean, you're forward, you're carrying the puck, right? You're going at your top speed. That's one thing that try to get guys to do, girls to do is vary your pace of your attack. You're going full speed. The defender's going with you. You've got essentially, 2 cars going 60 miles an hour. Whatever distance there is. There's no separation. But change your pace a little bit. Let that player kind of slide lower, create a seam. Maybe you can find somebody. Maybe it gives you an opportunity to vary your path and put a puck to the net.
Yeah.
Tom,
And
at what
create a
point?
big gap.
Tom, at what point do you teach crossing attacks, getting to the middle of the ice?
All the time. Like I watched the Canadian women in the Olympics. I mean, they're 3 feet from the boards 90% of the time. And the finish concept is the big ice. You always try to get the puck between the dots. And that pulls the D over, and then that opens up the wide lane pretty good most of the time. But I teach it all the time. Get the puck between the dots whenever possible. You got way more options when you get there.
Even the U13?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm trying to get them to. The terminology is take the ice behind. So if you and I are going down the ice, I'm wide. It's Gretzky Curry. I got the puck wide. I get between the dots. You take the ice behind.
Yeah.
Now we can read. I can pass to you, or if they back off, I can go to the middle and make plays. All kinds of stuff. But if I'm on the boards, that's exactly where the defenders want me, right?
Yeah.
I got very few options on the boards.
Well, you create a 2-on-1 when you cross.
Yeah, and that's if the other team's, if that other team has got people back, equal number outnumbering you, then you've got to create 2-on-1s. You can't just go a straight line because it's pretty easy coverage, unless you're way better than they are.
Yeah. There was a student at Veramaki. He's been on the call before. He did a thesis study on attacks, and there were more scoring chances occurred on 3-on-4 attacks than there were on 3-on-2s because of confusion of sorting it out.
Yeah.
And who would take who. And it was sort of like he didn't want it to become public knowledge, but that's something that his thesis proved when they look at actual getting a scoring chance in looking at numerical advantage or numerical equality or disadvantage. They discovered that disadvantage attacks, the back checker, the sorting out doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Even in the
Well, it's like if you go on a 1-on-2, Wally, and the D is parallel to each other.
Yeah.
You go right down the middle. There's a good chance you're getting through because neither one of them knows who's got you.
Yeah.
You know, they end up just reaching in with their stick or something.
Yeah.
And, you know, if they don't stagger a bit and somebody says, I got him. And does Calgary play Boston tonight?
I don't know.
It,
What's your take on the Flames?
well, they're blowing teams out of the water the first period, but not scoring. They're getting leads, and then this streak they're in here, they're losing at the end or getting tied at the end. So they're a little bit of a funk right now for sure. Yeah, they play Boston tonight.
How much of it is missing defensemen?
Well, I mean, you're missing 3D. That's huge. But, you know, they were, even with everybody when Tanev was playing, they were starting to get like this. So, you know, I don't know. I just think teams have their ups and downs, and then they sign a guy for $9 million for 300 years. And he only played one good game and he got hurt in it. So Huberdeau, he hasn't played the last 2 games.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that doesn't help either. He finally got in a road and played a good game and was working hard, making plays. And at the end of the game, he got hurt. So I don't know how badly he's hurt.
Peter, do you follow the NHL still?
I do. We've got that NHL network, so I kind of watch that because it'll jump around to, several games at a time, kind of thing.
Are coaches your way keeping up with the game? Or are they sort of lost?
So coaches do, but what's interesting is I think in college they do, but younger kids don't seem to watch the game.
They watch highlights.
Yeah, they just, whatever they can watch on their phone, on YouTube,
Yeah.
or now on Twitter or Instagram, like you're saying, the highlights, they'll watch that, as opposed, they don't have because they have all this stimulation now where they're more like golden retrievers. They just can't sit still and watch a game for 2 hours.
Well, I do like Wally said, I do a thing, just the play. So we end up playing 15 years, I guess it is. So it's about 45 minutes because it's just when they drop the puck. You know, it's not whatever. And I asked my team the last game, I said, well, how many here watched the last game? And 2 people put up their hand. I think the parents watch it and I watch it and Wally watches it, but the players don't even watch themselves play. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
I bet if you made highlights, they'd watch.
Yeah, but if I wanted to dig through, which I don't.
No, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I'm just kidding you. But yeah, but I see that, like, it's hard to be a student of the game if you don't open the book, right? Like, there you go. You're watching the best players in the world, and all you're seeing is, in many instances, some things that they get away with because they are so skilled, but you don't see what led up to it and how it all happened.
Well, the thing is that, like, what I found, even coaching the college women, basically the only people they see play is them. Like, they don't, like you say, watch games a lot, and I think that has a big impact on game understanding. Because they don't have this big picture of how things could be.
Right, because like what you're talking about, like with Sidney Crosby facing the puck, is trying to face the puck virtually all the time, right? If you ask them things about Sidney Crosby, that would probably never come up because it doesn't display itself on a highlight.
No.
So they wouldn't even recognize that, which you talk about being a student of the game. How beneficial would it be if you could understand that concept and put that into practice?
Yeah. And so sometimes you're talking a different language, right?
Yeah.
Because really they see themselves play, and that's hockey to them. So the concepts you're introducing are really new. That's kind of been my experience.
No, I agree. And in some ways frustrating, right? If you're doing that at the college level, you're hoping that somewhere along the line, someone else had done that.
Yeah. And it's the game I understand. Of course, some watch and all that kind of stuff, but generally the people watch highlights. Like on that thing you just talked about, watching the game, I can click and get a 6-minute summary of any game about it. Show all the goals and big hits, and
I mean, that's how they're geared. They want to go on Instagram or TikTok and they want to watch 50 different things that happened, and they get to do it in 15 minutes. As opposed to actually staying with something for any period of time and watching it from start to finish, regardless of what it is.
Yeah.
To what degree did you guys watch as players?
We watch all the time.
I used to go to Sunday to watch the Big Six Hockey League at the Corral, pay 10 cents, and it was a silver collection because I couldn't charge on Sundays in those days.
Yeah.
In Calgary. And and then watch that 13-inch grainy black and white TV when it came in, and watch the Hockey Night in Canada. So watch quite a bit.
Yeah, for me, my dad loved the New York Rangers. My dad knew nothing about hockey, but what he did know is they had a guy on the team named Walter Tkachuk. And Walter was Polish, just like my dad. So that became his favorite team. So he made sure we would watch the New York Rangers.
You must have some good Ukrainian heroes, Wally.
Well, there's a few. But I'm just thinking back to my playing days at college, and I don't think we used video that much at all in the late 60s.
Well, I know we had one video when I was in Bemidji, and we had a brawl, and that's all the guys wanted to watch is the brawl. Nobody watched any part of the game. Somebody had one of those, those thick tapes.
Yeah.
Somebody recorded a game, but that was the only one I remember ever.
Yeah, even today, like with my guys, you get about 20 to maybe, if you get them really engaged, because I think that's the key in getting them watching video, is you don't stand there and say, look at this, look at that, look at that. You might say, look at this, and then ask the question to the room, what did you see? Why did this happen? Keeping them engaged. But even with that, 20, 30 minutes after that, they're toast. That's
well,
about
Dominic Pitta said that most successful one, like coaching the American League, eh? He said the most successful ones they got to was the players did the coaching on the video. You know, like
Yeah.
the coaches didn't. They had the clips and the players talked with each other what was happening, what could have happened, what should have happened. And he
Yeah,
said that was way more productive than them.
Yeah, getting that open dialogue, because you'll see all of a sudden, and that's when you know you have a good team, right? Like, so one player will say, well, you know what, I didn't put that puck to the net like I should have. And then somebody will come to his defense right away. You know what, I probably should have been more available for a pass. It looks to me like this guy maybe I wasn't in the right spot for you, or I should have communicated to you. And that's what you're saying. Now they begin to coach each other, and it's fun. It's in many ways, it's kind of fun to just sit back and watch and listen to that. I
Yeah, and
agree.
that's, you know, I know we go around the room now, first before the game, everybody's thoughts about what we need to do. And then after, and ask opinions about, try to get them involved as much as I can, saying, you know, their thoughts about what just happened. Because, you know, they tune you out, especially 12-year-olds, after about 14 and a half seconds.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, for sure. And everything today, again, that's what, like, all the social media, everything is about inclusion, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what it's all about, is how am I relevant to what's happening here? Let me get this thing up on TikTok or get that up on Instagram so I can show that I'm relevant. So that's their culture. So you have to include them in what their thoughts are, because it gives them a feeling of relevancy.
Yeah. And all of us want to be relevant, eh?
Yeah,
That's for sure.
absolutely.
Peter, do they use iPads on the bench in Division III hockey? You're broadcasting.
We're not, I don't know if it's changed, but as of when I retired last year, we were actually not allowed to have an iPad on the bench. So what would happen is there would be, we'd have our assistant coach, eye in the sky, with the iPad. And then between periods, bring it down, highlight certain things that we'd look at. And then we could share that with our guys in that 15, 18-minute break that we had in between there. But we couldn't have them on the bench during the game like they do in the pros. And I think Division I does that too, right?
You sure see a lot of players watching them, eh? During the games that they telecast.
Yeah, there was a clip on the other day, again, New York Rangers, where so Zivanejad and the other Kreider, it was Kreider and Zivanejad, and it was after a play that like didn't go that great, and Zivanejad immediately turned to whoever it was there, the video coach on the bench. He handed him the iPad. Kreider grabbed the iPad from him and threw it behind him on the bench, and you could see him saying, just like, talk to me.
Yeah.
Let's figure this out. Talk to me.
Yeah.
It's still pretty fresh if you just came off the ice.
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about what happened. Never mind, like in the NFL where you see him, pouring over that to see exactly what happened.
Well, football's always been really big on that, eh? Here's what I use right here. I just taking it out so I don't forget it. It's just a little leaf thing called Leaf, and I put it into the iPhone.
Yeah.
And it asks, like, it puts a program, it says, allow it to use your camera. Boom, and now it uses a camera, and all the video goes on this. And then the other end is a USB, and I plug it into my computer. And it's the handiest and cheapest way to do anything.
Yeah, that's clever. That's pretty cool.
Tom, when do you download your games? In the evening when you come home?
Well, what I do is now they're all separate files, right? Because they stop at every whistle.
Yeah.
So I've got this this video converter that makes it all into one file. Like if I want to take out power plays and all that, they're there. But then after I get the one file, then I put that file on YouTube, and I do it at, I do it at night. So when I wake up, it's all done.
So you can just attach that to your computer, and you're videoing whoever's
This end is
videoing.
the
Yeah.
USB end.
But you download the whole game on YouTube, which
Yeah.
is
Well, first I have to convert those separate files into one file. So I've got a video converter,
yeah,
and convert it all into an MP4 format,
yeah.
and then I just load it onto YouTube.
How long does that physically take?
Well, to convert it takes about an hour and a half. It's about two minutes every minute of video,
Okay.
and then YouTube is probably 10 minutes or 15 minutes.
Okay.
And then I just have the YouTube link and I send that out and people can look at it. Like Wally watches it. Cassie she's away half the time and she can see the games and stuff like that.
Yeah, ours, we had a league rule where within 12 hours, the video had to be up. So every game, win or lose, tie, you're back to the office, make sure and it's downloading and getting onto the group website. So everyone in the league can watch it and they can see, especially if you're playing Friday night and Saturday afternoon, it's got to be up there. So first thing in the morning, you can have your team breakfast and then watch some video.
Yeah. And it was the same in the different leagues I coached in. And for the college team, that SAIT team, all the teams have to broadcast again. They have to stream the games.
Yeah, ours are too. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. The only problem with that is, you got 15 minutes of the Zamboni going around in circles because they just, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's really difficult. A lot of editing to work with it. That's why I like this way. There's so many companies you can send it to Russia and they'll break the game down for you. But if I play on Friday and we're playing against Saturday, it doesn't do me any good for me to get the video on Sunday.
Yeah, we had a pretty good application we used. It was called VidSwap.
Yeah.
And really, really easy to download in that. But the other thing that they did too is we could give them all the parameters, right? Like, so they all of a sudden they break out the power play, they break out the penalty kill. I could pull up each of my players' individual shifts and look at all that. And that was because you don't have the staff at Division. I was Division 2, which again, compete wise is really Division 3. You don't have the staff to break that down.
Yeah. But is it there the next day though? Like if you play on Friday, you have it on Saturday morning.
It's 12 hours.
Oh, okay.
They get it done. It's just so they've got this incredible network.
Yeah, there's quite a few like that. Like Wally and I, Carla showed us her stuff from the Olympics, and to be able to get everybody's shifts and all that kind of stuff is quite the deal. So
yeah, anything you want to know.
How much does VidSwap cost?
I think last year for that, with that service, I think was either like $1,200 or $1,500, which I can't pay somebody to do that as an individual.
Yeah.
So that's
not very money for. You didn't have to pay a game fee too. That did the whole deal.
Yeah, I mean, well, part of it was we got a rate because all 7 teams in the league used it.
Yeah.
So we had that. The other one that's popular but I think it's a bit more expensive. It's called Instat, INSTAT.
That's the one she showed us.
Yeah, that one was above our pay grade, but the VidSwap worked fine. Matter of fact, one of those games that we won in the playoffs, one of the opposing coaches complained that it made things too easy because you could see what everyone was doing. And
Yeah.
I said, yeah, that's what video's for.
Yeah, there's not too many secrets.
No, there's not. There's not.
Well, I think that's what happened is when I told you about the team not changing their penalty kill. So the first half of the year, everybody's got video, right? And the team was in second place. I think they were 15-5. And then they went on a 9-game losing streak. And what I think everybody broke down that they killed penalties this way and they could kill them without using, passing to the bumper, right? And they just took advantage of it. And I'm sure they got it just from watching the video and said, this is really bad coverage in the middle from that team.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see that, right? If you're on top of your game as a coach, right after the first period, and if they scored a power play goal on you, you'll see the penalty kill change, or you'll see the power play change, right? So as they think they're preparing for something, they're preparing for something that you're not going to do the next period.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Hey guys, can you see my screen?
I
It looks
see
very snowy, cloudy.
the mountains.
Yeah.
No, it's not showing. I shared my screen, and it's the Instat report I got from Carla McLeod for
Wow.
last weekend's game. You can't view it, eh?
Well,
No,
all I
I
see
just
is a mountain and pine trees and
yeah.
snow.
It looks like a very serene spot.
Well, I wish I could. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm just not sure how to share it, but all I'm doing, she sends me her Instat, and I'm just looking at it to figure out how do you use this information. There is so much stuff on there. I'd almost go nuts trying to figure out what to do. But
Well, a lot of it is it's cumulative, right? And the nice thing about having being able to pull up players individuals, like you can pull up where player number 7 shoots from, and you can look at things like that. They're always shooting from the same spot, and they're not being particularly productive. Well, that's a good conversation to have. Is you're very predictable, right? So there's a lot of different ways to use that information. But there is a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff. So we're not at the point where Major League Baseball is with, I don't know, 160 plus or something like that, different stat categories.
no, can you see my screen now?
I
Oh.
just see the mountains and the trees.
Okay, I wish I could figure out how to share it because the stats are incredible. It's got player stats, line stats for each team, game distribution, shots, challenges, challenge distribution, hits distribution, passes distribution, and then it got shots and goals scored with diagrams, face-offs, challenges won, power play, shorthanded. It's quite amazing. All I do is look at it just to see what the heck people are doing. And I asked Carla, and she sends it out to her players, and just about everybody looks at their shifts or their highlights that they got scored on. They look at them themselves. So
Yeah, no, it's a good tool because with that vid swap too, we have the capability of our players being able to look, see their shifts, watch the game.
yeah. Well, I wish I
Yeah.
could figure out how to share a screen. Peter, can
No,
you?
it's
We both seen it anyway, Wally.
No, I know
Yeah.
that, but I'm more curious about the ability to share a screen moving forward. Can you share a screen with me, Peter, and see if we can see yours?
I would if I had any idea how to do that. You are ahead of the game with me. I have
Well,
no.
At the
Yeah,
bottom of Skype, it says share screen.
share screen. Yeah, okay. Click
Click
on
on
that. It
And-
says Skype would like to record this computer screen.
Okay,
Then it says share screen below.
yeah,
So you want me to hit share screen?
okay.
hit it.
I see your mountain too. I don't see anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I got.
Oh, I'll have to figure it out. Get a hold of my nephew to figure it out.
Yeah, well, see, I learned something today. Well, I still think a hammer is technology. So, you know,
Well, drinking coffee is the technology for me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. When the ball peen hammer came out, I couldn't believe there was no claw on the end of it. I had no idea what that thing was for.
Well, one of the biggest thrills of my life is when a ballpoint pen. We didn't have to use those wooden things with the dip into the inkwell.
Yeah, there you go. No feathers.
Oh,
We didn't
come
have
on.
the feathers. We just had a piece of wood with a tip on it.
There you go.
Well, look, guys, I'm gonna have to run here. Gonna try to get the tires put on so I can get to Tom's game safely.
Yeah, take care of yourself with that. Keep your
Yeah,
snow
I'm
for
glad
a
I
little
went
while.
all weathers. I'm glad I had them on when I yelped there because luckily I'd given a big space, but all of a sudden the road just was packed.
Yeah,
The road
Oh.
usually just fly down, eh?
yeah.
There's a big traffic jam. I think I get Jim to wherever he was supposed to be late.
Well, we don't have that yet, but I'm sure our day's coming. So,
Yeah, well, like I said, last year I was biking at this time, so it's kind of not good.
yeah. All right,
Okay.
fellas, enjoy the days. It's good to talk.